Dear Indian Noir, this is Rajiv from Mumbai. I am a long-time listener and never thought I'd have something worth sharing. But here we are. This happened to me last year. It was during New Year's Eve when Mumbai was in a party mood. My friends and I hit a couple of parties around the city. We were in our late 20s and an irresponsible bunch, if I am to be honest with myself. One night, we attended a party hosted by a friend of a friend at an upscale apartment in Bandra. Everything was going great. The music was loud, the drinks were flowing, and the laughter was contagious. It was one of those nights where you felt young and invincible. There was a guy at the party handing out the good stuff, if you know what I mean. He handed me a small packet. Inside, there was a temporary tattoo of a red star. He said it was the latest craze, something that made the party more intense. I shrugged and tried it. I licked the back of the star, stuck it on my wrist, and thought nothing more of it. The party continued, but within an hour, my vision blurred at the edges, and the surrounding sounds became muffled and distant. It felt like I was underwater. I stumbled to the balcony to get some fresh air. The city lights stretched out before me, but they seemed different, almost like they were flickering, trying to communicate something I couldn't understand. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. When I opened them, I was no longer alone. A woman stood next to me. She was dressed in a traditional sari, but it was tattered and dirty. Her hair was disheveled and her eyes were hollow. She looked at me with an expression that was both sad and accusing. I blinked, and she was gone. I told myself it was just the effect of the tattoo, a mild hallucination. I went back inside, trying to shake off the unease. But as the night progressed, the visions became more frequent and intense. Faces of people I didn't recognize stared at me from every corner of the room. They mouthed things I couldn't understand, their tone unmistakably hostile. Sometimes they looked alive. At other times, I encountered monstrous apparitions. Their faces were pale and gaunt, with skin stretched too tightly over bone. The eyes, dark recesses that stared without truly seeing. A piercing scream escaped my lips as I clutched my head, pain and terror surging through me. Suddenly, an overwhelming exhaustion swept over my body, dragging me down. My legs buckled, and I crumpled onto the nearest couch, sinking into its cushions as darkness edged in around my vision. The next day, I woke up in my bed with a pounding headache. My friends had already left, and I was alone in my apartment. It was obvious they had hauled me back to my place, leaving no doubt about how I ended up here. I checked the time. It was 7 p.m. How long had I been out for? I wondered. I looked at my wrist. The red star was still there, vibrant as ever. The events of the previous night felt like a bad dream, but the tattoo was a stark reminder that it wasn't. My stomach growled, reminding me I had eaten nothing since morning. As I stepped outside, the streets were unusually quiet. The dimly lit roads seemed eerily empty. I made my way to my favorite food stall, but with every step, I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that something was watching me from the shadows. I sensed it before I saw it, a ghostly apparition trailing behind me with a chilling persistence. I glanced over my shoulder and immediately regretted the decision. The thing's bony, twisted body shifted constantly with sickening cracks, as if it were struggling to hold itself together. Its tattered garments fluttered unnaturally in the wind, and its hollow eyes locked onto me with an eerie intensity. Panic gripped me. I broke into a sprint, my breath coming in sharp gasps, my heart thundering in my chest. I dashed through alleyways, stumbling over uneven pavement, desperately trying to shake it off. But no matter how fast I ran, it kept coming, closing the distance. Then, just as my legs were about to give out, I spotted a small temple ahead, its bell tolling softly in the night. Without thinking, I sprinted toward it with every ounce of strength I had left. I crossed the threshold just as I felt the figure reaching for me, but the moment I stepped inside, it vanished. Over the next few days, the visions continued. Everywhere I went, I saw those ghostly figures. They followed me to work, to the market, even into my home. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them crowding around me, their hollow eyes staring into my soul. Desperate, I confided in my friend Ravi. He was very concerned when he saw the state I was in. He suggested we visit an old man named Krish, a retired professor of parapsychology who lived nearby. He was the host of a popular paranormal show on cable TV. When we reached Krish's house, he examined the tattoo on my wrist and asked me to describe everything. He listened patiently as I recounted my experiences in a shaky voice. When I was done, he went quiet. After a long silence, he said I had been marked. The tattoo had been soaked in a drug that transformed my skin into a conduit, a bridge to the other side. The red star symbolized the human soul, a bundle of perceptions, as the philosopher Hume would say. By applying it, I had opened myself to the residual energies of those who hadn't moved on. They were drawn to me because I had become part of their realm. A chill ran down my spine. Words failed me. He handed me a small vial of holy water and incense sticks, instructing me to perform a cleansing ritual every night for the next week. He told me to pray, meditate, and focus on reclaiming my identity. I had to close the bridge I had opened with the power of my will. I followed his instructions diligently. Each night, I performed the ritual, hoping to regain my peace. Slowly, the visions faded, and the oppressive presence around me lessened. By the end of the week, I could sleep without seeing those haunting faces. The tattoo eventually faded, but the experience left a scar on my soul. So, to everyone listening, be careful what you invite into your life. You never know when something seemingly harmless could turn your world upside down. And if you ever come across a red star tattoo at a party, do yourself a favor and stay away.